You just let me know when you guys are ready to rock and roll, and we'll start. We're good for whenever you want to start. It'd be good to have everybody on it.
Yeah, is Don on the line?
Yep.
Oh, okay, we're ready to go.
All right, perfect.
Gang's all here.
Well, thank you guys for your time, and Garrett, thanks for coordinating this whole thing here today. My name is Devin Abramowitz. I'm the sales manager at TeshCon, and Bob Burns is going to be running us through the demo today. He's our technical sales rep. Basically, I think Bob's just going to go through, a basic demo that he would show, any of our clients out there. I know you guys have had the units now for about a week or a week and a half. So hopefully you've got a chance to play around with them and maybe have come up with some questions already. So as Bob's going through this, as he mentioned, if you have any questions, if there's anything, specifically that you've been struggling with or that you'd like to see, don't be afraid to just pipe up and let us know, or tell Bob to slow down or to, cover something again. The goal of this is to get you guys all up to speed so you know how to use the devices and can better serve your customers out there in the field. So if there's not any other questions to start, without further ado, I'll pass it over to Bob to get us started.
Thanks, Devin.
Hey, Devin, I'm just, Gareth, just making sure that you guys are recording this from your side.
Yes, and we are recording it, so after we're done, we'll send out the link for the recording, so anyone who couldn't make it, or if you just want to go back and watch it again, you can.
Very good, thank you.
So I start out pretty much every, whether it's training or demonstration of the products, I always start out by just talking a little bit about TeshCon, only because over here in the States we're not as well known. We just started 7 years ago, TeshCon USA. As you're all aware, we're a German-based company. We have a lot of different products that we manufacture. Our SpectroDrive automated scanner, SpectroJet hand scanner, the SpectroDens, which is what I'm going to be reviewing today with you specifically, our inline SpectroEdge product, as well as a full closed loop system, presetting and closed loop system that we sell as well. And just so everybody understands that we're not just a sales office, we actually do soup to nuts everything here. We basically, the development of our inline product, as a matter of fact, which is specific to the flexo gravure packaging world and digital presses. That was developed over here using TeshCon technology. So we do repair, recertification, development, as well as even software development. So we do a lot of things. So if you have any issues, you don't have to go all the way back to Germany. You're connected right directly to us with the source. So the SpectroDens is the handheld, and I'm not sure how many of you have had a chance to really sit, I know Jim Ross has obviously, sit and play with it a little bit. I want to just go over a few things about it, and then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty stuff. We do call it the sort of the Swiss Army knife of measuring instruments. It is fast, it is very accurate, and it has a lot of benefits over the other spectrodensitometers that are out there. It is a true 1 second per measurement. What's unique about it is that by default, it's not an option or anything. It has both a spot check feature, which is the normal for a handheld, be able to take individual measurements. But we also have the scan feature, where you can, right out of the box, scan up to 54 patches in a number of different ways, whether it's density, color, ISO. It does offer full G7 support. Matter of fact, we've recently, in the last few months, added some additional features that have come out, SCCA for adjusting your aim values for substrates that have optical brighteners. And again, I can go into all of this much deeper. I just want to give you the highlights. It does support M0 through M3 measuring conditions. This is because of the LED light source. There's also an option that if you want to not have to tether it to the PC, yet have it communicate the measurement values back to the PC running our software, there's a little Wi-Fi board that is customer installable. You can install it right in the device, and it will communicate via Wi-Fi back to the PC that has their TeshCon software running. Very clear. It's a high-resolution color display. Very clearly displays the measured results. pass or a fail. And with our 1.5 millimeter measuring aperture, you can measure patches as small as 3 millimeters. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I have customers who are out there who are measuring 2.5 very easily. And what's nice about that is that you can actually swap those in and out. It's just 3 screws, and I can show you that, and that's all there is to it. One of the unique things also is that the SpectroDens comes with a 2-year factory warranty, so that is 1 year above beyond what the alternative vendors out there offer. So we always offer 2 years on all of our devices. So let's go over some of the things about SpectroDens. Pardon the Band-Aid on the finger. At the time I did this, it was I hit my hand with a. Okay, waiting for that to actually warm up and start up. There we go. So as you can see, there's no. Sorry about that. There's no clamshell type design. It's all one piece. You don't have to press it down over the viewfinder to take measurements. On the bottom of the unit, you'll see that there are 4 wheels, which is good for whether you're spot check measuring or if you're doing scans, it slides very easily right along the target that you're measuring. The aperture is loaded on the side of the device or placed on the side of the device. I just squeeze the measurement and makes that very easy to see exactly where you're measuring. Again, the advantage over using a clamshell-like device is that once you put that clamshell device down, you can't see what you're measuring. With the aperture being on the side, what it does is that you can see very clearly exactly what you're lining up to. So I'm going to run through a couple of features, and then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. I talk about scanning. We can do the Idea Alliance color bars, both the 2013 and the older 2009. We can do the new or old ISO color control strips. And it's very fast. It's a matter of aligning it right to the first patch, pressing the green button, measure button, and with the wheels, you go right over it very fast. The nice thing is if it misses a patch, it will stop and it'll squawk at you. And it will tell you out of sequence or not recognized. Either way, it won't take a mismeasurement, which is nice about this. It's checking against the library that's inside the machine. And then it displays the results on the screen. And again, I'll get into that more as we go along. Any questions so far? Good. In addition to scanning for color and gray balance and what have you, it also has the ability, if you want to scan density print curves. So you've applied some curves for your plates, and now what you can do is if you put a step wedge for measuring on the output, you can actually measure those density print curve point against the density points that you have on your curve. And you can see as I'm going along on the display, you can see the measured results. And each one of those dots represents where it is in relation to, and you set it on the device, a 5, 10, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50, so on and so forth. So that can be a good diagnostic for what you're getting versus what you think you're getting. I'm very briefly going to go over, it is an LED light source, the 2-year I talked about. One thing I'd like to do is I compare ourselves to what other vendors are offering out there. We're always offering free technical support, regardless of whether you're in or not under warranty. So you have a problem 3 years from now, you can still call us up. You'll get a live body who will answer your questions. If most of you have dealt with the clamshell type designs, this is very easy with one-hand navigation. No moving parts other than the wheels on the bottom. It's very easy to align. And it has some nice wireless transmission of data wirelessly via Wi-Fi. We chose against doing Bluetooth mainly because in some geographical areas around the world, Bluetooth is not allowed. And also Wi-Fi is much more robust, we found, than Bluetooth. With that, I'm going to hop out of the PowerPoint, death by PowerPoint part of this and go right into the device itself. One thing that, again, come in at any time with questions. I've started the video portion of, and you should be able to see the video of the device on my desk. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so with every device comes SpectroConnect software. And there are a lot of different features and functions I'm not going to bore you to tears with. I'm going to go over the main ones. One of the nice functions, especially for demonstrations, is that I can show you exactly on the SpectroDens what I have showing. That's my actual display of the SpectroDens. This side of the software is specific to managing your color libraries. And by the way, you can import and export CXF libraries and CXF3. And on this side is what you physically have on the device. The SpectroDens can store up to 4,500 colors onto the device itself. It has a good amount of memory. That's the whole amount of memory. So you can have samples, you can have the sample measurements, you can have references, and it can store a total of 4,500. But let's talk briefly about the navigation, because that's what I wanted to point out is, and I'm going to just put my hand, can everybody see me on the video? My hand on the, let me see if I can get that video in front of me so I can actually see it. Okay, there we go. Okay. So basically the navigation is just very simple. It's an up and down arrow which sends you to the various tabs, and you can see it on the screen, the software screen. I'm just going up and down. When you get over a selection that you want, you basically just hit the enter button, which is to the right of the up and down button, and that will bring up whatever specific function or feature or thing that you're changing. So I'm going to go down, and right now I'll go down and I'll say, okay, I'm set to automatic density, the lower left-hand corner. That's where you select your features. I press enter, and it brings up all the features that are selectable. So if I want to go to any of the other features, I've hit enter. It brings up that menu. I can go down and say, okay, you know what? I want to go down to CIE color circle. I hit enter again, and it selects that feature. Again, I go down to the lower left-hand corner because I want to go back to densities, and I'm going to just scroll up to the very top, and I select it. The red button is for, I call it my reverse gear. That's for stopping whatever you're doing, or if you've made your selection to back out of that sub-menu, get back to the base state, and you can start taking measurements. So the navigation scheme is very, very simple. Lower left hand is where you select your features. And once you select the feature, the lower right hand, that is where you actually select the configurable items to that feature. So for instance, right now I'm set on automatic density. So when I go and I select on the right-hand side of this, where it says D50, 2 degrees, no pole, it goes right to the density reference setup, which is, okay, that's where you can set up to 5 different density references. So I can just hit, so what I'm just doing here is it's already highlighted. Now I can go down and set whatever I want. It's just since I'm already on that feature, it automatically goes to the configurable items on that. I hit enter, and it shows me I have 5 tables, which lets you, I'm going to enter again and just select reference table 1, where I can go and say, okay, I'm uncoated stock today, and my target densities are 155, 150, and it lets you go through and set not only, and again, you select the item. Let's say I want to go back to down on 150, down arrow. Hit the right arrow, the red button to go to, get out of that and go to the next one. I can set each of these density reference tables to a specific substrate, and I can set what the tolerance is. I can do a delta D, a difference in what the density is from its target value. So I can say right now it's currently set for, tolerance for cyan is 6% plus or minus. Yellow is 6, black is 7. You can set that again to whatever you want. So navigation is actually very, very simple. First thing I tell people that I always want them to do, and I'm going to navigate up to where it says CAL up here. Any questions on that right now, by the way?
No, we were able to follow you okay.
Okay. And if I go too fast, let me know. I have a habit. First thing I do is I tell people, go to CAL, the CAL, to calibrate the instrument. Now, what's a little unique compared to the other vendor products is that it's going to ask me for two things here. One, even though I'm set to an absolute white calibration, since I'm in a density function, it's going to ask me to do a paper white calibration. The reason being is it's going to measure that paper white, store it in memory, so when you come to a tint value, it will automatically, to figure dot game, do measurement minus that paper value that you have in memory. When it's on a solid ink density patch, all it cares about is being in absolute mode. It does that automatically. So the trick here is, if you're changing substrates on press, especially if you're doing density, really, because if you're doing density, you need to do a calibration. So here it's saying, do a paper white calibration. And again, I'm going to bring up the video so I can see exactly, make sure I'm not, so I'm on the paper, I press the green button. And now it asks me, okay, now I want you to do a ceramic white stand, place the instrument on ceramic white standard. With the instrument, as you've already seen, comes a base. These are the two charging poles. I'm sure you already know this. Your power adapter plugs into that hole. But even better, the ceramic white tile on this dial, you just dial it out, and it's protected against any of the paper dust or all the other junk that's in a press room. You place the instrument over it, and you press the green button, and it does the absolute white calibration, and you're done. That's the only calibration that needs to be done to the instrument, and I always tell people, even if you're not changing substrates at the change of a job, or at least at minimum at the change of every shift, they should be doing a calibration just to make sure everything's everything's hunky-dory. And then when I'm done, I dial that white ceramic tile back in, and I'm done with this. Now just to let you know, you've probably also seen while it's on, and this is plugged into the power adapter, it automatically charges. It manages its own charge, so you don't have to worry about, well, if it's going to charge, do I need to charge it? Basically, it will charge itself when it needs to. It's just a matter of putting it on and leaving it alone. There is no physical on-off button on the device. Okay, so that's pretty much that's the calibration. What I was going to cover today were like just some of the basic functions that you guys probably use these a lot for, which is like density, a couple of different density functions, Espresso Mini, our pass-fail, G7, our ink check, ISO check, scanning, and managing color libraries. If there's anything else that you see or want to talk about, feel free to jump right in. Or if you're really bored stiff and you're saying, I'd really like to go to advanced functions, I already know all of this, feel free to tell me that too. I'm good with that. So first thing I'm going to do is set the automatic density. I'm set to automatic density. And I'm going to take measurements. I line up the aperture over where the patch is. I take a measurement, and you'll see, I'm going to go to the next patch. It's very fast. Cyan, magenta, yellow. And you can see that it's displaying every color as I take measurements. As I go to the next set of measurements, it just displays the next set. And you can set this to save these measured samples right on the actual device itself. So remember about the navigation. You go up, you're on sample right now, and you can hit enter, and you can say, you know what, I want to save automatically. And I'm going to back out. So that way, when I start measuring this next batch, If you look in the upper left-hand screen here, you'll see sample 1 is just here. Cyan, magenta, yellow. So you can see now, as I'm doing, this is the physical instrument memory on this side of this screen in SpectroConnect that comes with the instrument. Physically what is on the device. If I want to go ahead and hit enter again and I want to delete them all, I can say, you know what, delete all. And you'll see all of these over here just disappear. Now the other nice thing is I can sit here and say, okay, I'm going to measure a black. And remember I was telling you about the, measuring for dot gain. I have an 80 and a 40% patch here. I'm going to measure the 80%. It automatically recognizes that it's a tint value. And it's saying I have 92.7% patch here, which means that I have about 12.7% dot gain on my black. I go to my 40% to 59.5%. I know I'm looking for a 40%, so I know that I have about 19.5%. And when I go to the next one, it automatically says, okay, I know it's a cyan. And now this delta mode, I'm going to go with my down arrow here and go to the triangle. That's the delta mode. So if you're measuring density or you're measuring color, you can always go to delta mode and say, I don't want to look at what the measured value is. I want to look at what the difference is from the target value. So I just press enter, delta mode on, and it says that I'm 15 points off from reference table number 1 in my cyan. I'm looking for a 1.55. And you'll see in the lower left-hand, or to the side here, in the red, that what I'm getting is a 1.40. So it's saying, okay, you're 15 points off. And you can use it in that mode as well. And when you want to turn that off, you just want to see the measured values. You can go up to delta mode, turn it off, and it returns to a normal screen. Any questions there?
No, we're good.
So, there's only 2 other density things I want to show you. I mean, what I'll mention is that and you can ask, to see whatever. We do dot area, dot gain contrast, trapping, the printing curve, printing plate, slur and doubling for mechanical influence, density graph. I mean, there's a lot of different features. I just don't want to bore you to tears. I do want to show you the density CMYK, which is very specific to measuring not only process colors, but also measuring your spot colors. As you're probably all already aware, you measure a process color. There's a filter for magenta. So this is a 1.36 density. There's a filter for cyan. But the last thing you want to do with a spot color is be filtering to a specific process color. Case in point, I've run into situations where I'm measuring a red, starts out by thinking it's a yellow, so it filters it to yellow. As we're making adjustments, all of a sudden it switches filters from yellow to magenta. So you'll see here, if you look on the screen, the Dmax, that is your spectral density. That's the peak of the curve, the maximum light that's absorbed and reflected back. So even though, let's just say I'm going to measure this magenta, this overprint here, which is a red, it thinks it's a yellow because it's filtering the highest one to yellow. In reality, it's not a 1.36 density. The density of that as a spot color would be 1.52. So this is good for measuring both process as well as measuring for spot colors. So it's not filtered to a process color, which the filter may change based on adjustments that are made on press, on proof, what have you. Questions on that?
No.
Okay. So the only other densitometric thing I'm going to show you is our Espresso Mini. Espresso Mini was made because, a lot of people aren't using scanners, but they want an on-press device to be able to very quickly say, I want to measure multiple densities and be able to see an N key 1 in key 2, in key 3, in key 4. Here what you're seeing, barely seeing because it's so right on, my black is set to a 1.59. It's showing you a graphic representation in what the density is for in keys 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can go to cyan, take a measurement, and it does the same thing for cyan. And what's nice is I can now go back to my black, go to in key 5, and it remembers where I was. So now we call this Espresso Mini, and it also can use the delta function in that you can take up to 10 measurements and put delta mode on, and here's what it's basically saying is you can put on delta and it will display what the delta of it is versus just the literal measured values.
Bob, quick question for you.
Shoot.
Paul,
Yeah, go ahead.
got a question.
Alrighty, go for it.
When you're in this mode and you read, say whatever, a dozen patches between, all the process colors, there's no way you could toggle from color to color to color to see what you've read. It only displays the last read.
That is correct. Basically, you can display up to 10 values of, say, black, but in order to toggle, you can't just toggle to the other colors. You'd have to measure one of those other colors in to bring up that screen. So using the cyan, right now I'm on black. In order for me to read the cyan, I would have to go and measure a cyan to bring up that screen.
Okay.
But it's a good way to very quickly at least display, because as you know on press, they're just doing a subsampling across the ink keys anyways. And so I would be surprised if they're doing 10 measurements on press if they're using the instrument. But that's one of the things that we are looking at is a way to do that, to easily toggle between screens. Any questions? Other than that, nope. Okay. I'm going to go down to our pass-fail, mainly because we've sold a lot. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's talk about libraries for a second, because I think that's important. And I'm going to delete all these samples that I have already. So the Spectro Connect that comes with the software has the ability to either open a color library in our format or CXF and CXF3. So one thing we have a lot of customers doing is obviously Pantones. So what we allow you to do is go ahead and say, okay, and where did I put mine? Where are the, I have to think about this for a second. Open a Pantone library. Of course, I should set this up beforehand, but that's beside the point.
Can we download these from the website, Paul?
You can't download the Pantone because it's all licensed. However, what's interesting is you can download for $45 from Amazon.com the Pantone Color Manager, which lets you export all the libraries to CXF, which I find quite honestly amazing. Okay. I apologize for the delay. I did not have this set up beforehand. Okay. Oh, I already have one loaded in here, the Pantone Solid. I'll just bring this up so you can see. So you can import your Pantones. Now, if you want to put a library on the device itself, you saw how I just dragged that Pantone library up to this upper right-hand corner? If you want to put the library directly on the instrument to select, you drag it, you drop it, and you hit the Start button, and watch the display. On mine, it says, hopefully it'll refresh fast enough before it's loaded. Download. What it's doing is it's downloading those to the instrument memory. Once it's done, I'm going to go down to say C-Lab, I can now go and just notice what I did, by the way. When I get off the densitometric functions, the reference tab comes alive, so to speak. So I'm navigating the reference tab, and I'm hitting enter. What enter does is it brings up a submenu that lets me select a color that's already in memory, lets me save automatically. If I start measuring values that I want as references, let's say it's an OK sheet or an ink drawdown, I can set it to save automatically just by pressing enter. Or if I want to measure and pick a specific library, now I went down to search automatically, and I'm saying, okay, I want to look in the Pantone solid, which what that will do is as you're measuring, it will choose as a reference the color that is closest to what's being measured. This function works very well, but I have one very big suggestion. Since you're starting out on press, the colors are never accurate starting out typically. What you want to do is you don't want to have an 1100 color library that you're choosing from because it may choose the wrong one. So I'll choose that for a second just to give you an idea. I'm going to go to Sample tab now, and I'll just measure magenta. I'm going to turn on delta function. And what delta function is going to do, different measurement condition of sample and reference. Oh, that's because I'm on M1. So what you just noticed happened, by the way, is I'm on M1. The reference was taken in M0. You can see over here where the little M0 is next to the color reference. What happened is I had my device, I had inadvertently set it to M1, and it came up and it gave me an error to say, yeah, you're set to M1, you're comparing against an M0, and it's letting me know that. It lets me go on from here still. You'll see that the delta E, it gives you a visual. The closest it came was a 226 uncoded. The measured sample is sample 21, and it's a 12.74 delta E difference. And it's giving you the delta L, A, and B values. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, and I'm going to change my M1 to M0. I'm going to go up and do a calibration real quick. I always like to do a calibration. I'm going to get my guns. On color, it only asks you for an absolute white calibration because it's basically, when you're measuring color, at least over here, you're not doing paper white, you're doing absolute. Okay, so now I go back to that same color and measure it. Turn on delta, and it's not going to squawk at me. Still says it's around 12.38. Now, here's what I suggest for managing it. Instead of dragging whole libraries and selecting them up in the reference tab, which, by the way, see how it's showing you the 226U, the color that it selected? Instead of doing that, what my suggestion is go ahead and, the submenu, and pick reference memory. Search automatically in reference memory. I'm going to make sure I'm cleared out from reference memory. Okay. The reason why I say this is if I want to go ahead and just pick a cyan, if I want to pick specific colors, now watch this. So I open a library. Okay, hold on for just a second, please. Okay. I pick a library. It can be the Pantone. It can be a Grackle, whatever. And instead of dragging the whole library down and loading it on the device, what I'm doing is, hold on, I lost my connection to the software. Give me just a second, gentlemen. I had somebody who was trying to get me on TeamViewer, but I was in the middle of something. It somehow interfered. I don't know why. I've never seen that before, but hey, something new every day. There we go. Can always tell when a device is connected by if the serial number is being displayed down here in the lower left-hand corner when my mouse is circling. So what you can do is you can say, you know what, for reference, I just want to select the 4 colors, 5 or 6 colors that are going to be used in production versus a 1,100 color library. And here's the easy part. I can sit there and say, what I want is just these colors, drag them over, I can delete that. Now, I'm going to go back to my, my measure screen here, the screenshot. Now, when I go into reference memory, all there is are the ones I just dragged over. So now the only colors that will be compared to when taking sample measurements are just what's in this reference library. And that way you don't have you won't inadvertently choose the wrong color if you have like a 1,100, 1,300 color library that's being looked through for the closest match. Does everybody understand what I'm trying to get across?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, it's very easy to say, okay, I'm going to go to, you know, I'm going to change this black, I'm going to change this to, you know, black or yellow, and I just drag, I drop it, and now that's there, and as I'm taking measurements, I'll go to the sample tab. I can take measurements, and it's measuring against sample 1, reference 1, which is what the first one was. Okay, magenta, cyan. So it's giving you both a visual as well as the delta, and it's telling you what color it's choosing out of the reference memory. And when you're done, you just want to clear the memory. You can do it on the device just by going to the reference tab, hit enter, delete all, and they're gone. So any questions on managing your libraries? That's where we tend to get a lot of questions. When people are, I mean, I'm sure you'll have more as we go along, but that's basic library color management.
What size are these files, you know, these Pantone libraries, Bob?
They're not too big because they're really just the LAB values, so they're actually not that big.
And Bob, you said if you go and buy that set on Amazon, you're getting the complete set of all the Pantone libraries?
Yep. Yep, that's how we got them. I got a kick out of it when I found out inadvertently that you can go out and on Amazon.com you can literally purchase the Pantone, and you can get it from Pantone too online. That's $50, $5 more expensive. And all you do is you have the ability to export those libraries to a CXF file, which can then be opened, and you can bring them in and utilize the colors from the Pantone color libraries.
Is it, do you get a whole set of different ones, or is it a combined file with all the sets in it?
No, it's a list of, let's see, do I have it on here? It's a list of the various color libraries separated, so it could be Pantone coded, uncoded, Go, and I'm not sure that whether I have that on this specific PC or not, but it's, let's see.
All we need to do is get the button and keep it on yeah, email the file.
So yeah, basically, you know, it's in that the Pantone, and it separates all the libraries by type out. So coded, uncoded, goes. For whatever reason, this doesn't seem to be starting on my PC right now. Oh, there it is. It's looking for a serial number. I thought I might not have it on this PC. But I have it on a different laptop. It's so easy. You literally go in, you just export the specific library you want. And it's not just one big list. It's just Pantone coded, uncoded, Go, you know, process, sim, you name it.
Can you just kind of go through the routine of if you're comparing one color against another color and, you know?
Sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to our pass-fail, which is a lot of Again, I'm just going to the lower left-hand corner, and I'm going to go down to our pass-fail. We sold a lot of devices just solely on this feature. What it does, and again, I'm going to just drag some references over into memory. What it does is it's a nice, simple way, especially for a press operator, to take a measurement, and it says you either pass, and I'll just do a tint, or you fail. And you can set that up right on the device. You can set up your pass-fail tolerance. 3 delta E's. Do you want 2, whatever. Then you can also choose your CMC C90 CIE 94 your delta E equation. So I'll go to 2000, which seems, and it'll go through and it'll tell you very clearly if you passed or you failed, and quantify by how much. And you can see, again, you can set it to save as you're going along over here. One of the other, and it uses delta E as well, for especially when you're evaluating color, is our color circle, which will tell you if you're too red, not enough blue, if your L star is too dark, too light, and it gives you a very clear picture of what your deltas are, and will tell you exactly what direction you need to head in. So there's a number of different ways you can cut it up. If you're doing ink drawdowns, or you're doing any type of evaluation, people tend to like the color circle. Out on, if you're doing color comparisons on press, pass-fail is a nice simple tool because typically press operators don't really, they don't understand LAB, they don't know what to do or what have you. I'll get into that after this. But that's the basic pass-fail feature. But if you don't mind, I'm going to hop into Gray Guide because that also gives you a really unique function. Any questions on that, by the way? Okay. So I'm going to hop into Gray Guide, which is our G7 function. The first thing, if you go to the lower right-hand side, remember when you select a feature, it automatically goes to the configurable portion of that, so Gray Guide setup. You can custom set your G7 to whatever you wish. In other words, it goes by default on the G7 specification. However, there are a lot of people out there who have very specific gray balance settings that they use, maybe not a 50-40-40, it might be a 50-50-50, what have you. You can also set...
Yeah, hey, Bob.
Yep.
Got a quick point on this window here, though. That shadow contrast for black and CMY,
yep.
2.1, the default is 1.0. Actually, the default should be 0.90.
Let me...
According to the G7, spec, for shadow contrast, it's 0.90.
Okay, let me grab a pen here real quick. It's always good to know.
It's 0.90.
Okay, I'm going to write that. Thank you, by the way. Once in a while, when things may not be caught.
Yeah. We're just defining the density for the tone shape.
Correct. Yeah, because it's based all on LAB, but we're defining it based on the density. So what I would do here for you guys is go ahead and set your SC_K down to 90. Hit the red button. Go down to the next one. Whoops. Okay, that didn't work well, right? There we go. Okay. So I did write that down. I will contact Germany, by the way. So that basically sets this is where you would configure that. It's also where you would select the specific paper type and whether it has black backing, white backing. It has the 2013 ISO, as well as the older ones, the IFRA for newsprint, Grackle, swap C3 and C5. So you basically you choose the specific data set that you want to use for G7. So I'll just go and I'll choose Grackle, for instance. Now, there's one other thing that I haven't shown you is SCCA. Is anybody familiar with SCCA there? It's
I am.
okay. It's basically substrate color corrected AIM. What it does is, as we all know, that the papers everybody's printing with typically have optical brighteners in them, so they don't match up to the standards or the data sets. So I won't select that right now, but the first thing it has you do for G7 is measure the paper, and lo and behold, B value says I'm off. I'm out of the Grackle spec for what the paper should be. What SCCA does is if I turn that on, instead of just saying that whether it passes or fails, based on the color of that paper, what it does is it creates a new AIM value. So I hit SCCA on, and it says SCCA on. So now what it does, I go, okay, I measure it. It's measuring the paper based on the color of the paper. It is adjusting the AIM values for when you measure G7 for your G7. Did everybody understand that? It's very new. We implemented it a few months ago. So if you know you have optically brightened papers, then you know the data set that you're using is not going to be completely accurate. This is a way of adjusting the AIM values to better match the specific paper that's being utilized to print on. Questions on that? Okay. So you already saw, I'm just turning it off so we can go back to it. Okay, B value we know is off. So I can sit there and measure my 50%, and it comes up and it says, okay, you need to, in order to adhere to the spec, subtract 8 points in cyan, 8 points in magenta, and 13 points in yellow. So it's giving you physical density changes to make to hit your G7 spec. It also can measure your quarter and three-quarter tones, saying your KSC_K, and it will basically tell you in density what you need to do to try to hit those corrected values. Now, the thing why I wanted to hop into G7 wasn't just to talk about G7, but let's just say now I want to go back and I want to measure a color. I want to get a delta E and I want to get a density value without having to go navigate to all of those different features. So now in G7 mode, it recognizes I'm going to take a measure of the cyan, and it's saying, okay, I'm measuring a cyan now. I'm going to cut out of this a little bit and say I'm getting a density of 1.40 on that cyan. I have a delta E of 2.04, which based on my current tolerance is a pass. I have it set to 3. And it's giving you the LAB values down here. So you can actually leave it in this mode and go between the different colors, get density, as well as a delta E, and the minute I go back to a 50% or a shade of gray, it knows it automatically, and it starts, this is a mid-tone. You can do it in a quarter tone or a three-quarter tone. Questions on that? Okay. One of the So G7, we're all set with. You guys understand how that works? I mean, no questions at all on G7. Cool. Okay, so one of the things that I want to get into is ink check. Ink check is for basically measuring color and giving the press operator the ability or to know what to do on press to compensate for color that's not in. So if I measure, let's see, I'm going to measure, I measured a tint a little bit because I want to give you a big delta. So I just measured a cyan, and it's a tint, so it's a big change, but I wanted to get across the current density of that was 0.81, and it's giving an 18.3 delta E. It's saying increase 54 points of density in the specific ink key that you're measuring that patch from. Will bring it from an 18.3 to a 4.7 delta E. So if I go up to cyan, I measure cyan. Obviously I'm measuring the sheet. So here's just saying, you know what, you have a 1.9 delta E at a measured density of 1.45, increase 7 points of density, will bring it from a 1.9 to a 1.4. And you'll notice that obviously 145 plus 7 is 152. So it gives them actual ink density moves to make for more accurate color. It's also a good diagnostic tool because I don't know how many times you guys watch people chase their tails trying to adjust densities to get the color in. Let's just use this example where I say, okay, I'm going to measure this and it says increase on this 53 points of density. If it says, okay, I have, let's just say an 18 delta E, I increase 53 points of density, which is a boatload of ink. Let's say instead of a 4.1, it says, I'll get you from a 17.9 to a 17.6 or a 17. What does that tell you? Tells you can't get there from here with density, just by adjusting density. You need to start looking at other things, ink water balance, whatever. But you're not, the amount of ink layer thickness that you're laying down is not going to ever get you to the target value color that you're trying to get to. So ink check's a good diagnostic to say whether, okay, if you adjust the ink, I can get you more accurate and it quantifies, but it's also a good diagnostic for saying, don't even bother. Start looking at something else because the amount of ink you're laying down is not going to get you where you want to go.
And, Bob, right now you're comparing the data to the reference, right?
That is correct. See the cyan up in the reference tab here? It's automatically, I have it selected to search automatically in my references.
Oh, yeah.
So if I go and I measure a yellow, you'll see it displays yellow, which is the reference it's using. If it was a Pantone, it would be, let's say 185C. It would say 185C. But right now I just have the process colors. And again, same thing. It's just telling me subtract 14 points, bring me down to a 2.9. So it's a good tool for them to use. We have this in all of our Spectro devices.
Bob, if you go to will your reference colors display on the device?
Yes.
Or it does. So if you toggle over to your reference right now on the device, it will show you the CMYK values.
On the, let's see. Yes. See at the very top here? So I have yellow highlighted.
Yeah.
So you can actually go up to your reference tab, highlight the color that you want to see what the LAB value is. And again, your back out button is your red button. Just press your red and you can back out of there.
We don't have any colors in the line.
Yeah, he doesn't have, just looking at Garrett's unit, he doesn't have any reference memory.
No.
Interesting, because when he doesn't have anything in his reference memory, but it was still just showing, making a suggested move when he was taking a value, a measurement value.
That's because the data set in G7 you're talking about?
Oh, in ink check.
Ink check. It's probably, and I can check into this, it's probably using, and I'll go down to the selected reference set.
You think it's going to ISO or?
Yeah, I do. I actually do think that. I think it's going to the Grackle. Because remember when for G7 I selected the Grackle C1 white? I think what that does, and I can verify this for you, is it goes to the currently selected library that's internal to the device itself. That's why you're still getting suggested density changes and values.
We'll check. We'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just defaulting to ISO.
Yep. As you know, in Europe, they use a lot of ISO. We're using it more and more over here too, but everything's pretty much hardwired with ISO. Any questions on that?
No?
Okay. So let's talk about scanning a little bit here. I'm going to go and I'm just going to use ISO check. ISO check, again, it measures the paper because it wants to display what the dot gain is. It wants to check the paper against the spec. And again, I can go down and go into my ISO check setup. Right now, there's only a couple, there's 3 strips. One's the TeshCon, one's the EVI, BVDM, TVI10, and the MI1. I can select the data set that I want to use as target values. And I can set, if I choose the EVI, I can set what my dot frequency is, my dot value. You can also set the SCCA on here. So if you're measuring papers with a lot of optical brighteners in it, it will create new aim values based on the color of that paper. I'm going to leave that off. So for ISO check, and you can look at the video if you want.
Which one is it? Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to place the aperture in the first patch. I'm going to hold down the key and just drag it across and stop at the last patch. And you'll notice that the measured results are on the screen. It's giving you the dot area. It's giving dot gain. Right now I'm on a European sheet we get from Germany, so it's a 40 and an 80%. You can set that to whatever you want. But it's telling me I have 20% dot gain on my 40, which is the red X represents out. It's giving me the delta E, the trap value. So it's displaying very quickly, just from that one scan, what that value is. Any questions on that one? Okay. So let's talk about scanning now. We have a scanning function, which we're enhancing, by the way, which is well, actually, let's do media wedge real quick. Media wedge, again, I mentioned earlier, we have the ability to measure the ID Alliance color bars, both the old and new versions, as well as the FOGA bars. Right now, since I'm getting this press sheet from Germany, I have the FOGA 39V3. And what's nice about this is you look on the screen, I can bring it up so I know what you'll see the color bar here. I showed you in the video, but hold down the green button, draw it across, and it won't let me go on. If I miss a measurement, it will stop because it's comparing, it's doing some pattern recognition and saying, okay, oh, here it goes, it says sequence not detected, scanning speed too high maybe, but it goes back and says try it again. So I did something wrong there, so I'm going to try it again, hold it down, and now I go to the last one. And here what it's doing is it's giving me what the delta E is on the average, on the printing substrate, primary colors, all patches, and my gray balance.
All these parameters are based on your settings.
This, well, based on the settings and the data set that you have selected, the reference set. So for instance, right now I have the FOGA 39V3, the Idea Alliance, which we're going to post to our website actually. Actually, the new DENSs are coming with the Idea Alliance color book library with the data set. And we're going to post the new one soon for people to download as well, the latest one, which would let you measure against the Idea Alliance data sets and color bars. Questions on that? So the last is, when it comes to scanning in general, like right now you can't go in and define a color bar with specific values other than the industry standard data sets. But the one thing you can do is you can scan up to 54 patches, and you can export that data into any database, word processor, whatever, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to show you right now. It's saying I can choose these paper types, or if I want to keep detection off, which I'm going to. Right now I have, so it's off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just take this ISO, which is going to ignore the ISO table, and I'm just going to measure it. And you'll see over here, scans 1 through 16. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click over my color books over here. I'm going to say new color book. I'm going to name it Bob so it kind of stands out. Then I'm going to grab 1 through 16. So that's under Bob. And I will upload Bob to memory. So what I fundamentally did is I scanned a color bar. I created a library that I can now save and open or distribute. And now when I go to the scan function using the down arrow key and I select scan, lo and behold, there's Bob. So I can select that color library, and then scan and export the data. So one of the things here is our export function. So the icon's down at the bottom. So I'm going to segue away from the screen for a second. And I can set up whatever I want to. I mean, there's a 1,000 things in here where I can set up if I want to grab the date, time, name, the specific measurement mode, color, density, Dmax, XYZ, LCH, you name it. I mean, it pretty much lets you, and you just go and you select it, what the delimiter is, and what do you want to do for a separator. Next row, do you want to go return, do you want to go next column? So what this does is I can start up I'll just start up Excel, and I can go through and scan the color bar. Boom. That gives me my LAB values. So you can measure a lot of data very fast. And what it's doing is it's comparing against Bob. That's the library. So it's checking against that to make sure that what it's getting is what it should be getting. Any questions on scanning?
When you first did that, you did your scan. You scanned whatever the chart was. And you got 16 steps.
Yep.
And then you assigned that. How did you made a color library called Bob?
Yep.
And how did that make the link to the 16 steps that you just?
So what I did is I took Bob and I dragged it down to this lower left-hand corner. I uploaded it to the device. And what you do is you go and navigate to that scan function on your DENS, and press enter again, and it comes up and it shows all the different libraries that are available specific to just this scanning function. So right by default it has the 1, 2, 3, 4, but that library I just loaded, it basically put into the memory of the device for it to be used in that scanning mode. So what you want to do when you're starting out is you turn strip detection off, measure the specific strip, and again up to 54 patches that you want to create a library for. You right-click, new color book. We'll say Ross, and then once you're done, you go and you grab the 1 through 16. There we go. And you drag it over under Ross. Right, let me just get rid of some of these so many things I've saved. So now what I can do is I can say, I'm going to scan this in. And now I'm going to take all these scans, bring them under Ross. Now if I go to the next one, you'll see it different. So I can select the libraries, and down here it will display what's in those. So now I'm going to take Ross, as in Jim, drag it to the lower left-hand corner and hit Start. And it's going to download those to the reference memory of the device. So now I go back down to my DENS and I say scan, and lo and behold, there's Mr. Ross.
Good. Yeah, you can export that color library.
Yeah, you can.
Yep. Yeah, to export, you can save it as a TCB, which is a TestCon library. So I can save Ross out and call this Ross. Or better yet, you can export it as a CXF. So if you, let's face it, everybody has X-Rite applications, right? So, or if you're using an application that can import and export CXF, we can import it and we can export it. And this software comes with every device.
Stan, I got a question.
Shoot.
If the customer were watching your little demo, he has got to import exact lab values. These are not PMS, they're special mix colors for customers. Can we create a lab value by typing in the Excel sheet and importing that somehow into this device for the customer to hit?
Absolutely. It's very easy. What you do is, again, I use right-click. I should teach you the right way. So you can say New Color Library, and basically what you do is you name it. Okay, and again, I'll just call it Jim. Okay, so I'm going to say new measurement set. You copy and paste it right into this spreadsheet. I'm sorry, this window. It can be tab delimited. It can be just a space. And basically what you can do, and you can set the illuminant observer, the M condition, and OK, and it shows up down here. And you could paste 100 of them in there.
Are you doing this, paste them into a Word document, Excel? How are you doing this?
However you want to do it. If you want to go into an Excel document and say, you know what, I have to put names in, but I'm just going to say Bob 1. Okay, and I'm going to take these and copy. New measurement set. Paste. It goes through, and it hashes through those, and it creates colors in the library. Boom. So there's Bob. And now I can export it, save it, or I can upload it to the SpectroDens to be available to select colors from.
We can load it from there right into the slide.
Yep. You can either drag and drop. I'll just do black, cyan, magenta, yellow. I can drag and drop in here. And you see they're all down here. And I'll show you in the reference memory. I'll have to get out of the scan function to do that, but that's all right. And there's Bob. Oh, sorry, I actually did that wrong. There we go. There's Bob 1, 5, 8, 11. So again, the two ways you can either load the whole library on there or just the specific colors and drop them right into the reference memory. I always suggest dropping it right into the reference memory. That way you don't have the potential of it selecting the wrong color. You can also, as you probably saw, I use the select. I can sit here and say, you know what? I just want the magenta. And now I can just start measuring against magenta, and it'll only do magenta. So you can select colors, individual colors. I find it's just easier. Drag what you're going to use for production on that shift, and you're ready to go. Any questions? What haven't you seen that you want to see, I guess would be the question that I would have. There's a lot on here. Again, there's tons of stuff.
Would it ever be possible for us to get like our mini spots in here to scan?
Sure.
We in our software in Color Toolbox.
Yep.
You can scan a mini spot with the touchgun connected to our software.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah, that was an answer for Stan.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that's good.
So we can do that now, Stan.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Told me something I didn't know.
Yeah, the only thing though is we have to make sure that the mini spot is dressed up the right way with the with the separators.
Yep.
Built. So we've already got a file like that, and I think it's on our latest test form. And you'll see if you look at one of the mini spots on that, it will have a black separator in between each patch.
Yeah, and he brings up Jim brings up a really good point that when you're doing scanning, you want to have, and you'll probably see it if I have the video up there. You'll see that I have the demarc lines between the patches because it's doing pattern recognition, but it needs a transition from one patch to another, especially when you start getting into yellows, which are just hard to detect anyways. It needs a transition to say, okay, I'm seeing a big contrast. I'm switching to the next. I'm gonna basically assume this is the next patch. So the demarc lines for scanning are very important.
You could just read them in individual mode.
Yeah, it's pretty fast anyway. You just read them in spot mode too.
Yep.
When I go to scan mode, it can be done.
Yes.
Can this be done on live jobs, like if the customer just wants to check it real quick with Impress or something? Well, what do you mean? I mean, you're going to have to take it into Color Toolbox, right? I mean, you want to go into compare mode in Color Toolbox and get a score then, basically, or, analyze it or do a trend analysis, something. Right? We can't do it outside of Color Toolbox, basically, right? No, if you want to do it outside of Color Toolbox, then I would think you could set up a touchgun to, read one of our mini spots and give you a pass-fail on the device, like we did with one of the touchgun control strips, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's probably it for now. I think we're overloaded.
I know, that's always my fear.
And Garrett, this is Devin. I think as we said, when we started all of this, we'd be more than happy to keep doing these. I'm sure as they use the devices, they're going to, come up with more and more questions in the field. So, if you wanted to schedule one for another couple weeks out, let us know, and we'll send the recording out as well. So if anyone wants just wants to reference that, they can anytime they need.
Yeah, let's plan on that because for this one, I didn't prime everybody to have the SpectroDens software, loaded and running. So I think that's our goal for the next one is we make sure we've got all that and we're using it.
Okay. Okay. And who was it who wants to call me after this?
Stan, do you still need to speak with Bob, or did he answer your question?
I think you got my question on being able to import the libraries, because we're using the proprietary software from McDonald's.
Got it.
It's actually got a TouchCon on it with very limited stuff, but we wanted to export these into his personal TouchCon he just bought from us. But to see if we're hitting on press before you have to drag it back all the way back across the plant check inside the McDonald's software.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, this is probably the biggest thing, wrapping your mind around how to manage the colors and the libraries and everything. Once you do it, it should be a piece of cake. But yeah, definitely anybody feel free to call. If I'm not available, we have a tech support specialist, Sam Schwartz, who's available, and he can answer any question you could possibly have. And we're more than happy to also put more of these on as you need them. And also for your customers as well. Any other questions I can help you with, or?
No, I think
I just got that last question that Stan asked about, we've got this mini spot that is a custom, built control strip. And I mean, I think, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm pretty sure we can do this. But we can, basically what you did with that hand mode, when you read the TouchCon control strip, and you got a score that displayed right on the TouchCon, we can do that with the custom strip as well then, can't we?
Not using the ISO check function or the media wedge. Those are predefined values. That's what we're working on to expand the scanning capability of the SpectroDens. Is we're working on doing that. Right now, if you go to, say, media wedge, you can only select the specific ones that are preloaded, like the ISO, there's ID Alliance, there's...
So you'd have to use the predefined ones.
Correct. Right now, you'd have to use the predefined ones. We're working on expanding that in Germany, so you can define your own. That's why I wanted to show the scan function in raw scan mode, which is you can define the color strip like I did, and then
Capture the data, but we can't get a score. Basically,
you could edit the numbers whenever you want to be.
yeah. So you could put delta E in here, for instance. Whatever you want to use for metric, and you can sit there and scan that, and it will come, and you just go with the export module, and you can choose, okay, I want an actual DE here, so it does, and then tab, oops, not DIN, not that. So you can set this to export the data how you want. And next, so you can now. So now I can sit there and take a measurement. And oops. Oh, yeah, didn't tend to like that. Mainly because I had that whole area selected.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any references selected on there. So you can export the data and then you could set it. I offset this a little bit. Right now it's just measuring the delta E against one color.
Yeah.
But so you can capture the data. I think the challenge for you is getting it into your other software, by the sound of it.
That is, yeah. Not really. No, we can. No, it's not a challenge. I mean, like I said, we can just use it as a measurement device to read the patches, and then it will feed right into our software. So
Oh, okay.
We're okay with that.
Okay.
I like the idea is that cutting a control strip that you can get a score right on the test cut is pretty cool.
Yep. I would agree with you. We've been working with Germany on that. They one of the challenges, as you may imagine, is the real estate on the display, and that's one of the challenges. But we're slowly pushing that agenda, and they're actually they run into the same requirements we do, regardless of ISO. It's like people want to do what they want to do. So you will see something come out that lets you do a custom control strip with custom values. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I've enjoyed it and it's been an easy audience. I like that. Any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. And look forward to talking to you in the near future.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.